Hi, everybody. This is Trey Parker.
This is Matt Stone.
And we're here to do short commentaries. We actually got a lot of letters, people asking us to make our commentaries a little bit shorter because they were starting to get bored too
They
quickly.
love having them, but not too much.
Yeah. So we understand that because we certainly get bored by commentaries as well. The one big thing I remember about this whole run in general, basically, or at least the first part of this run, was it was really sort of the development of Butters as a character. Mm-hmm. Because what had happened is the season before this, we sort of thought we were killing off Kenny for good. We had him die in an episode and said, that's it. And then we ended the last season with Butters' very own episode where he kind of just a special with him. And then we decided, let's make Butters from now on the fourth kid. So now it's Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Butters. And so it lasted a good season of doing that. And it was actually really good because it helped us develop Butters, who I still is one of my favorite characters on the show.
You know, it's funny. If you watch these episodes, the third or fourth or fifth episode is Professor Chaos. And that's when the Butters voice actually starts to sound like the real Butters voice. Yeah, like in here, we're still figuring it out, and he just sounds kind of, I don't know, he sounds kind of weird. But by the fourth episode, you can just hear that, like, it, you know, zeroed in on it, and like that's what Butters sounds like.
And this was obvious. There was all these Jared commercials. All these. There was a time where when we did this, where there was just a Jared commercial. There's still lots of Subway Jared commercials, but there was one on all the damn time, and it was getting pretty. And
we thought, I mean, the basic thing behind this episode is the boys decide that they're going to go make money by making a deal with City Walk. That, you know, if I only eat City Walk, I'll lose weight. I just felt like when this came out, I was like, man, that's a great.
If that guy had done that all on purpose, which he might have.
He might have. You just get really fat.
A gigantic genius.
And then you go and I mean, if you just eat a little bit of any food, you know, you'll lose weight.
But if you're kind of like naturally thin anyway, like go out, get super fat, and then go approach any company and say, hey, I'm going to eat all your food and I'm going to lose the weight. You can have all my before and after photos.
I could go gain 20 pounds and then eat nothing but McDonald's and lose weight.
Absolutely.
I just wouldn't eat very much McDonald's.
Right.
It's fucking brilliant. Jared's actually super brilliant. That's why we said we'd make fun of him.
This was actually also the first episode with the Shitty Walk guy. And the Shitty Walk guy, was the, it was actually when we were doing a sound mix, I think for Orgasmo.
Yeah, it was
in the valley. Up in the valley. And we called a City Walk. We wanted Chinese food delivered, and there was a City Walk. And a person did answer the phone and went, Shitty Walk, take order. And it was like, and they had shitty chicken and, city chicken and city beef.
Shitty shrimp.
And it was just, and we were just laughing our asses off for about, and then we did that thing where during the sound mix, we would call City Walk all the time to order food just to hear the guy say shitty beef and shitty chicken.
Yeah, life was good back then.
That's the
My favorite part of this show is when the whole town's going after Jared because he wants to give everyone AIDS. He's inexplicably beating a dead horse. And then Garrison comes over the hills like, there he is, he's beating that dead horse.
Yeah.
Because that's what this episode is.
We certainly were.
The AIDS joke over and over and over and over.
And I remember when this came out, there was I don't think we got a letter from Subway, but there was a press release from Subway.
It's brilliant.
Saying something to the effect of, you know, we at Subway Sandwiches do not think AIDS is funny.
But the greatest part about their letter is, we should find it and put it on the website. It was, quote, unfortunately, Subway can't control the content on all TV shows, but we would like to say basically they were saying we had nothing to do with it, but the way it worded was like, unfortunately, we don't control the world.
Yeah, but almost as if they were saying yet. Like, we don't. Unfortunately, we can't control all television. It's like, no, that's pretty good that Subway doesn't control all television. But, see, we've done it again. We're really rambling now. We should get on to the next one. We're sorry about that.
Sorry, everybody.
Oh, come on, just think about how famous you'll be.
This is actually one of my favorite episodes, I think, of South Park. Definitely of this run, just because it's, there were so many movies in the 80s when we were growing up of, like, there was this kind of thing where a guy who's kind of good at something, and then the guy who's way better at that thing comes along and steals his girl, and then he's got to beat that guy at whatever the thing is, and so it was just a really easy episode to write because basically you just wrote that script again
of that movie you've seen a million times.
Which we've all seen a million times.
And then the other storyline in this is the parents with their timeshare guys. So I remember that was a big thing growing up in Colorado. You know, people who couldn't afford, you know, most people can't afford a second home or a vacation home, and they try to do these ridiculous timeshare things.
And it's become actually way worse. The whole timeshare scam.
Has it gotten worse?
And it's totally what it is. Become way worse. It's like everywhere now, like in Hawaii and in I remember actually the retreat for this whole run we did up at Whistler in Canada, and we were up there coming up with these shows, and that we were being just harassed by timeshare people the whole time because, and it basically is this thing where it's like a lot of people who want to, it's like you can own your own place, you know, and that's of course appealing, you know, own your own place in Hawaii, own your own place and whatever, and it turns out that you own that place for like a week every year that you have to sort of predetermine,
right?
And then all these other people own it all the rest of the time. So it's really absolutely no better than just going somewhere for a week and paying for a hotel. In fact, it's way worse than that.
My mom and dad have taken advantage of many timeshare things where they give you a free weekend. My parents were always on one of those free weekends, and then never buying anything.
This is one of those times too where we, in the very last minute, cleared the song. We're always, since we do these episodes so fast, we usually a show has like months to try to clear a song, and we wanted to get this song, and I think we got it like the day, the morning of that it aired, and we had to have all this. We were so happy.
There's a great version over the end credits too with John Hansen, one of our
post-production people,
and the voice of Mr. Slave, and he does.
He sings it, if you can call it that. He kind of sings it. But
what else is in this episode? There's a really good reference to that Schwarzenegger movie at the.
Yeah, what was that movie?
Red Planet.
Total Recall?
Total Recall, yeah.
Start the reactor. Yeah. And that was when the girl's boobs are from...
That's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's just silly.
That's pretty goofy.
Let's move on. That's all that we can remember about this episode. Enjoy.
Apparently.
You know, when somebody's sleeping, you put your finger up your butt and then wipe it on their upper lip to give them a little Hitler mustache.
This, we think, was the second. We can't remember which was the second show of this run, but we think it was this. We could go look, I guess. It would take us about 5 minutes, but instead we'll just assume this was the second one and put it on the DVD that way. But this was still Butters trying to work his way in as the fourth kid, and it was all based on the... We had been seeing some episodes of the Maury Povich show where they did bring in kind of people with no arms, and there was a guy with no face. Yeah, remember, that was the big thing we saw.
Scoopy face.
Yeah, there was some guy who like had no face, and everyone came to work that day going, "You see, the guy's got no face." And we were watching it, and it was like Maury Povich did just bring all these people on.
Well, it's under the pretense of like, look how brave they are, and what,
right?
And learning, and it's like the human interest story behind these people who have these, terrible afflictions or were born without, arms and legs or something like that,
right.
And what their life is like. But really, it was just a freak show. It was just it was no different than charging people.
It's exactly. Maury Povich was the guy with the top hat in front of the freak show. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly. And then at the end,
they'd give him a prize or something.
They would give him like, we're giving you a $10,000 car or some groceries for a year, and it's like,
yeah, you just made them $2 million.
Yeah, they paid him about 0.6% of what they made off of that episode, basically. That was all about them. So that pissed us off.
And we put a guy in here inspired by Scoopy Face.
Yeah,
and I think he called.
We just called him Scoopy Face.
I think he called to sue.
Yeah, he tried to sue.
I think he tried to sue, saying for some reason that he had a right to anybody without a face.
He said, I am the Scoopy Face guy, and we just kept saying, "What? We can't understand you."
Yeah, I don't think he actually said.
We can't understand you. You don't have a face.
Yeah. So that was, and then the other part of this episode is cool. We did a parody of the old Union label commercial, that was showed in like the 70s that we remember from growing up, and that whole idea that the freaks start a union and try to get everyone to don't go with authentic freaks,
right?
Not someone like Butters who just puts balls on his.
And
chin.
the thing is, I don't think any of us, we were actually too young to remember the whole look for the Union label commercial, except that it surfaced on the Star Wars Christmas special video, and
which,
the
by
Star
the way,
Wars
if
Christmas,
you haven't seen, you must get it.
And it's really hard to find. You can only find like someone on eBay or something can have like a VHS copy with the commercials on it. But one of the commercials is the look for the Union label commercials, and it was kind of like one of those things that once we saw it, we're like, yeah, I kind of remember that commercial.
It's a mesmerizing commercial. It's great.
If there's any chance that you can find the Star Wars Christmas special, it is. Jefferson Starship is on it.
It's probably Jefferson Starship's on it, and the whole thing is Christmas at Chewbacca's house.
Yeah.
And then all these little vignettes that circle around that.
Yeah.
But they actually they do whole scenes with Chewbacca and his wife and his kid with no dialogue. It's pretty amazing.
That's right.
So I guess that's Freak Strike.
Yeah.
And we'll move on.
Yep.
Kenny would have done it.
So this episode was about the boys sort of fueled by Stan saving a bunch of little veal cows from where we grew up in Colorado, especially actually sort of near Boulder where we went to school. There was some veal farms, and they're pretty damn depressing places because they do just have these little huts, and you knew there were little baby cows in there slowly dying.
The baby cows in this episode are hilarious looking. You just made them as cute as possible. Their little eyes, which are coming
Something
up here
you
in a
would just
second.
never ever want to kill in a million years.
It worked. The whole PETA thing the only thing PETA thing that ever worked on me is veal. Because I like all kinds of meat. I'm a big carnivore. And the whole veal thing, I don't know what they did, but they did it right because it bummed me out and I don't eat veal anymore.
I just have a rule that I don't eat babies. I don't eat lamb. I don't eat veal. I don't even eat like baby squid. If it says baby before it, it's kind of a good rule of thumb to not eat something with the word baby in front of it. And it's too bad because I'm sure it's awfully delicious because cow certainly is.
Veal, but, before I stopped eating it, but I know it's totally inconsistent philosophically with the rest of my eating, but I eat lamb. If it was called, they didn't get to me with lamb.
Yeah, they're little babies though too. They're pretty darn cute. They're pretty darn cute. But it's also, in this episode, we knew we were going in this direction that was kind of very anti, obviously eating veal and almost started to seem like anti-meat. And we really wanted to get the other side of that where Stan takes it a bit too far. He almost gets like PETA-like with it and stops eating meat altogether and breaks out in vaginas because that is what happens actually. There is a disease called vaginitis that everyone in PETA has. And
I have known a couple of healthy vegetarians in my life. People who are vegetarian who are healthy. I have known a couple, but I've known dozens and dozens other ones who are vegetarian and they eat this and they go to Wild Oats and they don't eat that and they don't eat that and they are pasty and they never have any energy and they're sick all the time. Every
single vegetarian I know always has a cold all the time and is always wearing a little scarf around their neck and is going, I don't eat meat. And then like sneezing. Every single one.
They're just not very vigorous people.
Yeah. So, I guess our stance on that was basically like, you don't have to be, you can eat meat, just maybe don't eat babies. I think
it's a powerful message.
Yeah,
or you'll break out in vaginas.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of offensive to women and vegetarians
at
the same time. I don't think our vegetarian woman demo's too super huge though. This is funny right here when he farts on him.
Never fails. Never fails.
The funny thing about this episode, we had where the kids get Worf to drive them to the airport. That's pretty funny.
For no reason.
For no reason.
Yeah. We just wanted to do that voice. Because it's another one we do really horribly. But yeah, so that's it. That's the Veal show, and that's our stance. Eat meat, don't eat babies.
Okay.
Breaking and entering is a crime.
So the whole idea for this show was basically just ripping on Russell Crowe. But it came from a very personal experience, actually, where right around this time, it must have been a little before this when we weren't working on the show, but we had gotten to know Russell Crowe from, I guess, right about the time that we were going around getting some awards for the music in the South Park movie. He was getting an award for Best Actor in
Insider.
Insider, yeah.
No, one before that. Maybe it's Insider or LA Confidential.
But he... And so, we'd see him at some of these award shows, and we'd drink beer, and we're like, that guy's really cool. And, and his buddies from Australia, and they were just normal beer-drinking Aussies that seemed cool. And then one day, sort of out of the blue, Russell called and said, hey, I'm finishing my album, and I want you guys to come listen to it. And
you wanted us to give notes on the music. And
we're doing the final mix. And, usually that means, if you're like doing the final mix, it means you want people to come listen and sort of give feedback, right? And sort of say, oh, well, I would change this or do that. And so, we're like, oh, that's nice. We were flattered, and so we went down to the studio and quickly found out there's already like 8 other people there, whatever, that he had called. And then he proceeds to put in sort of not the tape of the music, but a finished CD. He just sort of puts into the CD player and starts playing, sitting, kicking back, and everyone's supposed to sit there and then the song gets over and everyone kind of claps. And then the next song starts, and then the next song starts. And Matt and I are kind of looking at each other going, oh, I guess we're just here to sort of listen to Russell's album. We're like, okay, well, okay, all right. And Russell is a very talented actor. He is a very talented actor. And the music was sort of like Bon Jovi meets hepatitis B, really. And And so we sat there and we listened. And then at one point, actually, about halfway through, he does take me and sits me down in a chair between two speakers. And I'm thinking, and that's usually what you do when you really want someone to give mix notes. And so this one song's playing, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to think of something constructive to say, something, And I said, you know what? There's like, if I were you, I would mix out the hand claps in this song. And literally, the place just got quiet, and all these people that were there kind of looked at me like, oh my God, like he said, And I was like, I'm just saying, mix out the hand claps maybe. And Russell took a drag off his cigarette and said, well, maybe I'll mix him off the version I give to you.
And Trey's never gotten that version.
Yeah, and I never got that version. And so then we sort of realized we were supposed to just keep quiet and sit there and listen to Russell's album.
So we did.
And then we did. And then, who was it? The director showed up.
No, Robbie Robertson showed up.
Oh, yeah.
Robbie Robertson showed up, and then they started it over.
They started over again, and they're like, we're all going to sit here and listen to it again.
And so we left.
And then we left. And then,
we just got to,
and so Russell's, honest,
we just got a letter.
Nice
Did you know we just got a letter from Russell Crowe?
Really?
He saw Team America, and he loved it.
Oh, that's
cool. He wrote us a nice little letter.
He's always been very nice. He actually
he's really nice to us.
Called me on my birthday and stuff.
And he's really he's an extremely talented actor.
Yeah.
He's not the best songwriter.
But unfortunately that happened and it was right around the time we had to come up with an episode.
But also there was a time. There was a period where Russell Crowe was in like a fight in Australia, and then he was a fight in LA, and then he punched a reporter in London. I mean, it came somewhat from reality. He was like literally within a month or two's time, he had gotten in fights on 3 continents. Just bar brawl kind of fights, and that's where this fighting around the world comes from.
And he really was doing it.
Yeah. So, and that was a story mixed with the boys trying to see the new Terrance and Phillip trailer for Houses of Fire 2.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of like this. I like the fact that this episode they basically are watching for the commercials, and the commercials hit
right
when the commercials. I think that's
it's basically like an episode that takes place during the
it's a real
length
time
of an episode.
Right, it's a real time episode. I think it's our only real time episode.
Yeah.
For all you trivia buffs out there.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of actually clever. And I love when Tugger kills himself.
Yeah. Because it's sort of how we felt.
Yeah, and listening to his music, and yeah. Anything else on this episode? I don't remember if there's any. Houses of Fire 2 trailer is really funny.
Yeah, we should have made that movie, but no one would have gone to see it. Yeah. So we made Team America instead, and nobody went to see that.
Yeah, see, Butter's voice. Butter's voice is still fucked up too. Butter's voice doesn't sound good. This has one of the best shots in all of South Park too, which is where all the blood comes rushing out of the door when Shelley's on her period.
First time we see her period, yeah.
It's the most fucked up shot.
And the door is really symbolic of her vagina. We better move on. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Hurry!
I really like this show too, actually. This was a very last minute idea. It was the last show of the run. And we had sort of talked about what had happened because, we never do. We hadn't really thought it out before we did it. We just kind of did it, and we realized so we killed off Kenny, and we kind of brought Butters in, and we've been doing all these shows where Butters is trying to work his way into the group, and we're like, and he's great. We really developed him as a character, but wouldn't it be funny if the boys basically didn't accept him, and he sort of got fired as their friend, and the boys were gonna find a new kid because the idea was let's just keep doing the show where we fill in Kenny's place with a new kid every run basically because this was the last show of the run, and so that sort of gave birth to this whole idea of what would Butters do if he was then fired, and it brought out Butters' dark side, which is Professor Chaos.
Professor Chaos, bringer of destruction and doom.
Which is one of my favorite things because it really defined Butters as a character because it's just even his horrible dark side where he wants to go out and destroy people is just so sweet.
Yeah. He has no dark side, basically.
He just really wants to have a dark side, and he just doesn't.
And this is where Butters' voice finally sounds like Butters. Finally, on this episode, it sounds like a good character, not like a weird little squeaky thing. And this was also we did this episode when that show, The Bachelor. Is it Bachelor or Bachelor? Yeah, Bachelor was really popular, and they did the Rose thing, and the whole idea of auditioning friends is like no more ridiculous, basically, than auditioning wives or girlfriends, because that's wives. Yeah, Bachelor's for wives. Yeah, so actually that's more ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember this was the first scene we did for this show. This little one here.
It's very cinematic, and also it's the superhero thing. The good superheroes have always been shunned by society, or have some terrible secret. Yeah, the good villains. I mean, yeah. So it's fitting all.
You can tell we did this scene on like Thursday because we had more time to make it look good.
Yeah, it really does look good.
But
I love this part
This
right
was-
here with this art.
We sort of went through the whole show too, where we didn't know who the new kid was going to be, who was going to take Butter's place. And it was sort of the same thing. We're on Tuesday night, basically, when the last night we had to work on it. We just decided to go with Tweak for no other reason, just because.
And the end of this episode is really cool. It goes, tune in. Will be revealed right now.
Right, yeah.
Jokes on Dick, Tweak. And what was the other thing?
Because we debated doing that. We were going to, let's do a cliffhanger. And they were like, nah, let's not do a cliffhanger.
Let's just do that thing where it's just resolved right now.
Make it seem like there's going to be a cliffhanger. We talked a lot about Professor Chaos's suit, too. I remember drawing a bunch of things and really trying to get it to look like he had made things out of aluminum foil, because that's exactly what a lot of kids do when they think they're going to make a superhero costume, is they cover things with aluminum foil.
Right.
And it gives a great look to it.
And little can tops for his little necklace thing there, whatever that is. Yeah. What else is in this show? He tries to destroy the world.
That's probably enough about that episode. We'll go on to the next one.
That's pretty good enough for Professor Chaos.
All right, we want to thank everybody for coming. This is a great turnout.
This episode's called Simpsons Already Did It, and it's basically, honestly, just came from our frustration of coming up with great ideas and then someone telling us that the Simpsons had already done that.
Oh, God. This is like
all the time.
the writer's room in South Park.
Yeah.
Is coming up with an idea, hitting your head against the wall for an hour, coming up with an idea, and then it's having someone else in the room. Because that thing is, Trey and I, just because we work too much, I just have not seen that many Simpsons episodes. I like it, but I've probably seen, 10 or 15 episodes maybe in their entirety, in my entire life. And I remember the one time it happened is we were actually going to, on the episode where the kids, is that in this run where the kids use the molested word, and there's like a whole Mad Max thing. Right. We actually came up with this idea that Cartman would block out the sun in Smiley Town, and that was his big plan to get Kyle and Stan back. And we actually worked on it all weekend, and then somebody on Monday morning went something like, "Oh, that's sweet. You guys are gonna do," because that was on The Simpsons. And we were just destroyed because we thought we'd come up with it.
And it was our only way out of the episode.
I'd probably seen that episode and subconsciously come up, or maybe I just came up with that. I can't remember which one it is.
We only had 2 days till the episode aired. We had to think of something else. It was just horrible, but
it really
was
happens
just,
all the time.
It was one of the cappers because it really happened all the time. And so, and what had happened, I'm sure, is that in this run, because this was the second episode, I'm sure we had obviously had a bunch of writers meetings trying to come up with episodes and just kept saying Simpsons did it, Simpsons did it, Simpsons did it.
Well, and the other thing is people would wait. They would wait and they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't want to bug you. You seem to have so much fun with the ideas." So they would wait a day before they told us, and we're like, "Tell us immediately."
Yeah. And so, but the amazing thing that happened with this episode, and this is a totally true story, is that we were like, fuck it, let's just do an episode called Simpsons Did It, and we'll just make fun of the fact that Simpsons has been on the air for so long that they've already done they've done every joke. And so that's where we came with the idea of like Butters, we bring Professor Chaos back, who we really liked, and have him try to do things that the Simpsons had already done. And so the blocking the sun was obviously the first place we went. But what happened was we were then going through, and we were like, okay, but meanwhile, the other storyline is funny too. We like that with the sea people and all that, and we're going to get that confused with seamen. And so we got to the point where it was on Friday or Saturday, and we're like, oh, this is sweet. So he's going to have, and the little seamen can actually build little societies, and Cartman is like their god. And Kyle, one of the writers, says, oh, yeah, the Simpsons did it. And we're like, what? And it was like, basically, again, we're just destroyed. We're like, you can't be serious. Like, but it was also this, we were all laughing because like, oh my God, this actually came and bit us in the ass in this episode. Simpsons has done this thing. And so after being devastated for like 15 minutes, we're like, well, wait a minute, that's pretty sweet actually.
Right.
And we realized to just play that up and make that the whole point, is that this other storyline too, the Simpsons has already done. And really they hadn't done the storyline. They had just done the sort of ending where they were building a monument. They obviously weren't doing seamen. They weren't doing sea people being confused as seamen because.
Right.
But well, this is one of my favorite parts actually.
The other thing that's funny is that and it just goes from being, it shouldn't matter, but for some reason people lump South Park and The Simpsons and any animated program in together. So it's like we're always being, South Park's always like, well, The Simpsons did it. It's like, well, a lot of other shows do a lot of things too. You know what I mean? But we never. We only get compared to The Simpsons,
right,
which is unfortunate that we have to be compared to like
One of the best shows on television.
One of the
ever.
best shows, on television ever, and one of the most popular shows on television ever. And the show with now it has 350 episodes.
Yeah.
So we never get compared to Sister, or Small Wonder.
Yeah.
We always get compared to The Simpsons.
Which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah,
He's got his king hat on.
This is great. This storyline's actually really good.
All right, that's good for this one. This is Red Hot Catholic Love, and I actually remember this entire show was purely formed around the idea that we wanted someone to crap out their mouth. That was really the centerpiece of the entire idea, and I think it was, in fact, we went through the whole retreat trying to block out the whole story of crapping out your mouth, and that was going to be the entire show, and we had done a lot of the beats of that, and we knew in our hearts it wasn't enough for a show, but we just really wanted to see some animated characters crap out their mouth.
And we kind of didn't have a story, but luckily about that time, Catholic priests all over the country started fucking little boys, or at least it came out in the press finally that the Catholic Church was covering up some of their priests molesting boys.
Thank God.
Thank God that happened because it helped us break this story.
Then we could have people crap out their mouths. And so I remember being in the writers' meeting and being like, all this stuff had broken about all these priests molesting boys, and we're like, my God, do you see what this means? We can finally do the show about people crapping out their mouths. But it was really sort of, this was one of those shows that we did where we do a lot of times where it's basically we did this episode right as the story was breaking. So we still didn't have a whole lot of information to go off of except that priests were fucking young boys.
And unfortunately, the story that was breaking was that the church was finally getting busted for it.
Yeah.
Because they've been fucking little boys for a long time, which is really sad.
Which is really fun for us because Ann Garofino, one of our producers, is, a deep Catholic, as we've talked about many times before.
I think we talk about on every commentary mini.
And so we kept asking, how do you feel, Ann? I mean, you're okay with this? This is all right? And Ann just told me that she actually, the message that we had at the end of this show, she really liked.
Yeah, because I think most people would consider this was an anti-religious show, but it's not. And actually on South Park, we do a lot of religious stuff because we tend to be interested in religion. And I don't know, I never really considered South Park anti-religious, but the Catholic Church really hit rock bottom when this thing was coming out because they were just not dealing with this in the right way. And then so we had a whole scene actually when all the parents are sitting around and they've turned into atheists, which to me are the most annoying kind of, when they start spouting their anti-religious stuff. And we actually do the thing where they're spouting I don't even need religion, and they're pooping out their mouth at the same time. That was a really funny scene. So, and the other really good part about this show is the Gelgamex.
Yeah, that's gold.
Yeah, the Gelgamex, their
We hit gold
Gelgamex
with the
vagina.
Gelgamex.
That was comedy gold. And the pitfall thing when the priest is running through the body.
Yeah.
We just did a little pitfall thing because we didn't want to animate this whole huge action sequence.
It's one of those typical things where it's, Tuesday and we're like, okay, what are we going to do? We have to we've sort of written ourselves into a corner where we're supposed to do this big action sequence. And we said, let's just do pitfall. It's kind of like the thing, we just finished doing the show about Kenny in heaven with the Terry Schiavo story. And it's the same thing. We didn't have the time to do it, so we just made a joke out of him explaining what the battle looked like. It was the same kind of cop-out. Great joke.
Yeah, it was a great joke. I'm glad we did this episode. I'm glad we ripped on the Catholic Church for this. This is a bummer, man. Just, don't fuck little boys. And if you're going to, don't cover it up.
Yeah.
Just admit you're wrong. Quit praying.
You don't need to pray for that. Trying desperately to turn this story into crapping out your mouth.
Right here. Here it is. Ready? It's coming up. This is a bad story device.
Because somehow Cartman just makes the leap that if you put something in your butt, maybe you can crap out your mouth.
So we tried to make the thing with...
And I remember being in the writers' room, we all high-fived each other. We're like, we've got it. Now we can do that story.
So the idea is you just try to get this moment past you so you can enjoy the rest of the show without going, that was a fucking stupid way that came up.
You just noticed there that Chef waved and walked off facing camera? That's because for 7 years in this show, we never drew a side view of Chef. And so every single time that Chef had to walk, you'll see any time in the show when Chef walks away, except for the pilot, he is always walking out facing camera and I finally was like, why does he always do this? And we're like, well, we don't have a side view drawing of Chef. And so about a year ago, we made a side view of Chef.
And now 8th and 9th season have side Chef.
So that's enough for this episode. I think we'll stop annoying you with our commentary on this.
It wouldn't work. I'll bet you $20 it'll work. You're on, fat boy. Okay, let's go, Jew.
So this is had become sort of well known already by this time, sort of Matt and I's dissatisfaction to what George Lucas was doing to Star Wars, which was, it was so disappointing when the new Star Wars came out and he basically just ruined the first three, because obviously us being the generation we were, that was gigantic to us, and to come out and basically say the Force wasn't actually the Force, it was something in your bloodstream, and it wasn't this whole cool Japanese Zen thing that it was supposed to be, and basically just, went and ruined those first three. And so that was bad enough. But then when he said, okay, now I'm going to go back and change the first three, we're like, oh no. Because, these were classic movies to us that we wanted to show to our kids someday.
And then Spielberg started doing it.
Yeah. He literally did that. He put walkie-talkies in the hands of the FBI guys in E.T.
And changed terrorist to hippie.
Yeah. And our feeling, which is what we say in this episode, is like, you're making art, hopefully you consider this art, and if that's true, you don't go back and sort of fix your sculpture 10 years later because there's a little better
and by the way, neither of those fixes to E.T. make it better. They make it stupider.
Yeah.
They just make it more, PC. But yeah.
But and it's,
I'm officially, as of now, it's 2005, right? Yeah, I'm officially over Star Wars. I have to say that. I'm coming out. Because it was so important. I mean, I loved it like everybody else who was, grew up in the 70s. And between the new movies and just how many video games, and I can't even listen to that score anymore. I'm over it. Yeah. I have to say, I'm over it.
I just actually, the other day, caught Empire Strikes Back on television, and it made me super sad. Because I was sitting there watching it and going, this story is so cool to think that, okay, now that guy, that's Darth Vader, and he's actually, to think about sort of the storylines of the first three and how much they screwed it all up. Like, it could have been so cool if he would have, taken the time, not sort of, I think you could get to a certain age maybe where you just believe that you are as great as everyone tells you, and you don't need to fix your story, and you don't need an editor, and you don't need to go through all the toil on a script that you went through originally. Because it's just obvious that those scripts for the first three are just so and that's the only problem with the new shows, is that they're terrible scripts.
Yeah.
And because he was George Lucas, he didn't have anyone say, this is a terrible script, you have to fix it before we'll shoot it. You just had a studio going, go, make it, get it.
Or maybe someone did. Maybe someone did, and he was like, get out of here.
Right. Maybe.
I mean, who knows? But you need some people. You need people in your life as somebody who does comedy and even Star Wars. You need someone to say, nah, that's not very good.
Right.
Someone who's going to be honest with you. And probably George Lucas lives in a big room of liars.
Yeah.
Because everyone's sitting there reading it going, this is great, George.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Because there's no way that anyone with half a brain could have read that script and thought it was good. any one of them. I mean, they're awful. But
and to retroactively ruin it's amazing the same guy made the first three. I didn't even really like Return of the Jedi, but parts of it are good. But, the first series and then the second series, it's amazing. It doesn't seem like even the same person did it.
We did get a letter from Mr. Spielberg from this episode.
That's right, we did.
And we still to this day do not know if the letter was, if he was pissed off or if he was
It's
being
kind
cool.
of backhanded.
Yeah.
It's kind of backhanded. He basically says, I feel finally like I've arrived because I've been, I'm one of the villains in South Park. I love your guys' sharp, witty sense of humor, blah, blah, blah. But it was something kind of crappy about the letter, about the tone of it.
Something that seemed like he was pissed off. But
he was
we
like,
can't
yeah.
say that because maybe he wasn't. But
yeah, but it seemed like it.
But
this is the brilliant misunderstanding of Free Hat and a guy named Hat McCullough. Was it Matt? Something
Yeah.
like done.
But we
Just
can't
brilliant.
we can't pretend to be this important because we're not. But we did hear from people that worked at Sky or at.
We'll just put it out there, even though it's probably not true.
It's probably not true, but we did get the letter from Spielberg, and then we did this. This did come out at a time where Spielberg was. It was in the news that he was going to go back and digitally redo a bunch of shots in Raiders of the Lost Ark and remake that, and that's what we made the show about. Was like, please, Raiders of the Lost Ark is a work of art. Don't fuck with it, and then he didn't. I mean, it's true that he didn't. He didn't do it. And then we heard from people over that studio. Not that he went like, my God, those guys are right, I'm going to do that. But that there was, he did see the episode, which we know because he wrote us a letter, and that he did then just suddenly one day say, I'm not going to do it. So maybe if we had even the smallest bit to do with Raiders of the Lost Ark not getting fucked up, then I'm just as proud as that as wearing dresses to the Academy Awards thing. But it's probably not true, but we'll believe it.
But whatever.
Whatever, fuck him. All right, next one.
Wait!
This is Bebe's boobs destroy society.
Which is pretty much true that when girls' boobs, when you're growing up, the amount of time you think about girls' boobs when you're, like our boy's age was like 8 or 9 and older, it's really, you spend most of your childhood thinking about them and how what they're gonna look like and what they're gonna feel like, and they really do have the capacity. I mean, boobs really are the bane of society if you think about it. The amount of time we spend thinking about them.
We always have this sort of fine line we write in South Park because we want to keep the boys young and naive enough to, they're really not sexual yet, and so that's part of the fun we get to have because it's just there's so many obvious places you can go with sort of sex jokes that, we're like, but what is, so we wanted to have like the first little girls start to sprout boobs, but maybe the boys could be into them without really being aware that they're even into them. And they just sort of, we got the idea that they just sort of start turning into monkeys. And I remember the idea came from, I was at a party like 2 weeks before this, and one of my friends who works on South Park and one of my friends who doesn't were at the party, and they were both pretty drunk, had been drinking a bunch of beer, and there was this woman that they were both kind of trying to hit on, and at one point at like 3 a.m. or whatever, the one friend he's kind of wasted sitting on the couch, and the girl has his head in his lap because she's wasted too, right? And so it's like, oh, okay, she's got her head in his lap, and he starts kind of really drunkenly stroking her hair, and I'm just laughing watching this whole thing because I know just how wasted they both are. And I see the other friend come and sit down on the edge of the couch, on the arm of the couch, and he's super drunk too, and everyone's just kind of swirling a little bit. And at one point, the friend without the girl's head in his lap sort of reaches down to stroke her hair too. And so the friend with the girl in his lap slaps his hand away and goes, and made this kind of just guttural, like gorilla sound. And I fell out of my chair laughing because it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. But it was just this whole thing about how drunken men around a woman just become gorillas, basically.
There's also, we said this before in stuff, but we always, there's an underlying theme to South Park, which is that society is what keeps you barely in line, not... There's like 2 competing theories in the world. One is like we're born natural and beautiful and good, and that society corrupts us, which is what I think a lot of people believe, that like we saw these images of women and it corrupts us. And South Park is based on completely the opposite notion, that we are born basically gorillas and society keeps us just barely in line.
Yeah.
And it's the only thing that keeps, especially men from going crazy and turning into simians that they basically are.
Yeah.
So now you see the boys are just, they don't know why, but Bebe is just super fucking cool. So they're not really driven by sex.
They just think she's cool now.
she's
For no
really
reason,
cool.
they just think she's cool. I remember my favorite scene is this, and when Stan is basically drawing boobs on the wall after he's fully become monkey, and he calls them Ata.
Ata.
and his dad says, yes, these Ata. This is my favorite line in this. But anyway, sorry, we've talked too much.
That's different, dude. You're like my girlfriend.
This was the last episode of this run. I remember because it was some girl had just gotten abducted. I think it was in Utah. It usually is, but they it was just huge news, and it was so not cool to do a story about child abduction right now. So of course we did. But it was all sort of centered around this first joke we had with this guy who was going to come visit Tweak and pretend to be the ghost of human kindness, and then turn out to be the actual child molester, which I think is a pretty great joke.
So then the parents decide they have to protect their children, so they go through all these different ways of trying to protect their children, and one of the ways they do is they get the Mongolian guy from City Walk, the Chinese guy, to build the Great Wall of South Park. And that basic joke of like saying, you fucking Mongolian, I'll get you, and all that stuff, it came from when Trey and I I don't know when, I don't even know when, 1995, maybe 96, we went to Beijing, and we actually went to the Great Wall of China, and we came up with all that joke while we were standing on the Great Wall of China.
We were standing on the Great Wall going, Mongolian! You come try and break that! We just
screamed it towards Mongolia.
We're just trying to imagine this one Chinese guy building that entire wall. And then, because they were telling us the history of it, and they're like, and then here the Mongolians broke it down, and then there they broke it down, and you knew there were these Chinese guys going, goddamn Mongolian, because wherever they put this wall, Mongolians came and knocked it down. And so it was something that we...
And what's great about China, you can go to China and do a shitty, totally offensive Chinese accent, and they don't even know what you're doing.
They have no idea you're making
It doesn't even
fun
sound
of
like
them.
anything. You go, dong, ding, dong, 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 and they don't even know what the
I think
hell
it would be the
you're
equivalent of like one of them coming here and going, "Arra, arra, arra, arra," and think that we wouldn't even know they're making fun of us.
doing. You wouldn't be offended.
Yeah. But I know that ever since we did that, because we were definitely in tears on the Great Wall of China, and we've been trying for a long time to figure out how to work that into an episode. It was another one of those things where it was like we just could never find an episode to work in a Great Wall and a Chinese guy and a Mongolian, and
It's like wherever you build a Great Wall, Mongolians will come and break it down.
Yeah.
That's the basic.
Yeah.
See this.
And I remember after this episode, it was at one of the times where I felt both horrible and great was in a store about a week after this aired, and this kid was trying to wrestle away a toy from another kid, and he grabbed the toy, and the other kid turned to me and goes, "Goddamn Mongolian, you tore down my shitty wall!" And I was like, wow, that's really horrible that a little kid is screaming that at another kid, but it's pretty great too.
That's pretty great. Let's see. What else haven't? There's Kid Tracker 2000, which is funny.
Child
joke.
Tracker.
Child
It's
Tracker.
also the first time we showed the boys playing baseball.
This is pretty funny joke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's funny.
Generally, shows get better as a run go, because the first shows of a run are ones that we've had time to think about and we've really kind of worked them out, and when we've thought about them way too much. And then by the end of the run, we don't have any time, so we just do a bunch of weird, funny shit, and they're usually way better. So this show's pretty good.
That's what we should do. Just more weird, funny shit and
Yep.
quit worrying about story.
But that's it for this season. See you on the next one. This episode was the first one of the run, and I remember that this aired about 1 year after 9/11, and sort of what was going on in that at that time was there was all this sort of 1 year ago kind of stuff where there was all the now 9/11 like sentimentality stuff going on, where there was and there was just like everything was very sentimental, and everything was just like, so the whole idea of like children trying to build a ladder to heaven to reach their dead friend was somehow very much what was going on in the country.
Right.
And I remember it was right at that time that the guy Alan Jackson, the country singer, had his big 9/11 song, which is so bad. It's just a terrible song, but it was again just so sort of sentimental and whatever.
It's
that
also
it-
just
it really-
cashing. His was like cashing in on the sentimentality of it.
So, you know, a year after 9/11 was everyone sort of figuring out how do we cash in on 9/11, and Alan Jackson did it very well.
Yeah, he really cashed in. He
Yeah.
took it right to the fucking. He took it right, right to the top of the cash-o-meter.
But it was kind of a big thing, you know, at the beginning of the season, we were sort of trying to still decide, all right, what do we do with Kenny? You know, do we just bring him? Because at any time we knew we could just bring him back because he just does that. But then we had this idea to have, you know, to keep him dead and have the boys sort of need his dead body.
What is it? A ladder to heaven? We just came up with that was just a goofy. Is it just a?
Well, it's just the idea. I think it was from all that sentimental stuff. It was like we were talking about, you know, the boys need Kenny back, and so they try to build a ladder. And I remember we were going to make the commercial for the show that's like, you know, the boys want to see their dead friend, and so they build a ladder to heaven. And that's, of course, what happens in the show is that the news reporters put it that way, and everyone's crying and just thinks it's so beautiful and wonderful. And
But no one will tell them either that it's.
that it'll never work. You
It'll
just
never
can't
fucking
tell
work.
them, you know. But of course, the boys just want their thing. They just want their prize.
Yeah, their prize
They
ticket.
don't really care about seeing Kenny really at all. Oh yeah, this is where. Oh right. So what happened in this episode was Cartman basically mistakes Kenny's ashes for Nestle Quick, and makes a chocolate milk, and drinks Kenny basically,
yeah.
and then that makes him
Possessed.
for then the whole rest of this season. He is then possessed by Kenny, because that's what we came up with the idea of, like, all right, let's bring Kenny back, but let's do it in kind of a very movie kind of mythological way, where for a while we'll have him trapped inside of Cartman's body, and then later we can get him pulled out of Cartman's body.
Right. This is where it goes to Chef's parents. Was that later?
Yeah, and then that's later in the season. That's sort of how he finally gets released from Cartman, as he gets taken out in that
Chef's
episode.
parents do that
with,
voodoo stuff.
Yeah,
That's pretty funny.
it's a pretty good idea, really.
Yeah, that's a pretty funny idea. Who came up with that?
All right, so we'll move on to the next show.
What's up with that?
What the hell hell is this? Chocolate milkman?
This is definitely one of my favorite episodes of South Park. I say a lot when people ask me, just because, I mean, I always like when the boys are just really being boys, which they really are in this episode. It's just boys being playful boys. And I just like it a lot. I think it's pretty solid. I like, too, how the title, of course, is The Return of the Lord of the Rings. No, The Return of the Fellowship of the Ring to the Two Towers bookstore. So it includes the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and the Return of the King all in the title.
The Two Towers video store.
Yeah.
Yeah, which of course makes perfect sense that there's a fucking video store called The Two Towers.
Yeah.
We just had to do that, so it made the names good.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the quint, like, this is to us like the quint, like, if we could make every South Park episode this good, we'd be really psyched, because this is the quintessential, you know, the boys with their little fantasy and treating everything, you know, like it's Dungeons and Dragons shit.
Yeah.
There's a great part of this episode where some other kids are playing Harry Potter and Cartman calls them fags.
It was the first time we got to just say fags for that, like a kid just calling another kid that, because it was just too good. They had to let us do it. But it was...
These are the important standards battles we fight.
Yeah.
When we're fighting for standards. And people are like, wow, you guys are defenders of the First Amendment. It's like, right, so we can fight to say fag on TV.
Yeah.
We care a lot about the First Amendment.
It's... It was funny too, because we talked a long time about when we always in writers meetings talks about what do we remember as being kids, and I'd always talk. I was like, I remember like the boys getting, because one of their parents had a porno, and like all the boys sort of getting together at some kid's house that had a VCR, and like watching this porno and like just being so perplexed as to what we were seeing, and too young to even be like aroused by it, and just be like, what the hell are these people doing? And so it's that kind of naivete, it was basically like, I really like the part in this where they know that they're not supposed to look at it because it has some great power and like the ring, and so they get Token to go look at it, and Token comes out and says, I'm not playing anymore.
I forgot about that.
And it was sort of, I don't know if it was the first time we did it, but we always kind of have this kid, Kevin, that we never really see, but he's always screwing up the whole show. And when Cartman knows a kid is screwing up the show, he just lets, and so it was always, my favorite line in this is basically when they're going around, having their meeting and saying all their things, and then it cuts to a little kid wearing a stormtrooper mask saying, we got to fight the Empire, whatever he says, and Cartman's just like, Kevin, god damn it. And you just know there's like, we are having a good time here playing our game and you're screwing it up.
We're having the best goddamn time and you're fucking it up. God damn it.
Butters is somehow, he is somewhat aroused by the porno, obviously, because then he basically turns into the Gollum character.
Oh, that's
because
right.
he sort of, it just, this is great too. This audio is from a real porno, actually. And so we went to the company and got, from this, we got the permission to use it. And so for a long time, the picture was in there too. We had done this before on a show, but basically we just had porno picture in there. And it was just this creepy guy going, yeah, spank my ass. And the picture was there too, and it really bummed people out. It was pretty sweet.
Huh. I don't remember anything else on this episode.
I really like the
what else happens?
The use of the sixth graders, and it's always good when you have sixth graders versus fourth graders, because everyone can relate to that.
This is like, they're like the horsemen in the Lord of the
Rings. But there's a scene coming up here where the boys hide from the sixth graders. No, I'm sorry, we've talked way too long on this episode. We should move on.
This sounds like a really important quest.
This is the Death Cap of Tolerance, and this is where basically we were now trying to slowly get everything back to the way it had been on the show. So at one point, we had killed Kenny off for good, brought Tweak in as their new friend, and then had their new Mr. Garrison go to teach kindergarten, and the boys had a new teacher, Miss Chokesundick. So slowly up to this point, we had made the possibility that Kenny could come back by having him trapped inside Cartman's body. We have Tweak slowly dwindling away as the fourth kid. And now we have the final step, which is Mr. Garrison once again becoming teacher of the four boys. So everything's almost back to normal now. And the whole idea was basically, Mr. Garrison being told that if he gets fired for being gay now, he'll make a lot of money. And so he's going to try extremely hard to get fired. And this gave birth to two great new characters in the show, Mr. Slave and Lemmy Winks. And The great thing about Lemmy-Winks was, I remember we came up with the idea and we started to follow the storyline. And Butters, the real Butters, Eric Stow, the animation director, was and other people were
Most
sitting
people
there.
in- most people in the office,
Most
actually,
people in the
except for-
office were sitting there watching the animatic, the rough version of the story, and just not laughing at all and going, "What the fuck is this?"
Until like even like 2 days before the show went on the air.
Yeah.
They're like, "What the fuck are you guys doing?" Because
They're
we're
like-
the only people laughing at it.
And everyone in the building was basically like, well, we're not going to waste our time animating this because we know you're going to take it out because it's obvious just place filler. And we're like, no, we think this is really funny. And they're just like, nobody thought it was fucking funny.
It's true. I don't know if anybody still does. A few people do. Actually, I got a few calls from this episode. People are like, "That's the most fucked up thing I've ever seen."
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to follow the hamster or gerbil, whatever he is, through Mr. Slave, but it's another thing to have the Katata fish, frog prince, sparrow prince, frog king. I can't remember.
We can't keep them straight.
It's so stupid. It's really the whole thing. The genesis of Lemmy-Winks was really kind of to rip on Lord of the Rings,
Yeah.
and just how silly it is because what is it? What's the main guy in Lord of the Rings? I don't even remember. Frodo. He just doesn't really do anything. He just walks around and people go, "Frodo, this and that and the other, and you must do this." And he's like, "All right," and he just kind of goes.
And he's always just kind of falling down and fucking up, and he's just really.
So we had this whole idea. We were going to actually, we still might do it someday, a live action version of Lemmy-Winks where you'd have this little squirrel with a little hat on that runs around, and then you have live action wizards go, "Good, Lemmy-Winks.
Yeah.
You must take this, ring to the volcano of doom," and blah, 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 blah.
But Lemmy-Winks was just supposed to be a squirrel that never had really no real character and just was a squirrel, but always was for some
And
reason.
you would just cut to Lemmy-Winks, you'd cut back to the wizard. "You're scared, I can tell, Lemmy-Winks."
Yeah.
And so everyone else would fill in the story around him because that's Frodo. Frodo doesn't do anything in Lord of the Rings. He just runs around.
We actually had that idea when we were making That's My Bush. And actually, if you ever see That's My Bush, there is a part where George Bush is watching the Lemmy-Winks show on TV.
Oh, that's right,
And you
yeah.
just hear it, and you hear George Bush say, "Oh, no, Lemmy-Winks." And so, and then we finally got to this whole thing. But so that Mr. Slave was the voice of John Hanson.
Who works on the show?
Or I guess I should say John Hanson is the voice of Mr. Slave.
Yeah.
But
Or either way.
yeah.
And that's just, I don't know why. John always did that thing whenever we would talk about a gay person, he would just go, "Jesus Christ."
But it's really funny because
Jesus.
John's not an actor at all. So like true to part, we didn't go out and find a good actor. Like
We just
'cause
let John do it.
We wanted people to do it like us. so we just got Hanson, and basically all Hanson do this gay voice, but all he does is go "Jesus," and that's all he ever
Jesus
said.
Christ.
We're like, that's perfect. We'll just have him say that all the time.
That's basically what he does. That's about it.
So yeah,
I think
so
that's
it
it.
for that episode.
I'm really like Lemmy-Winks. I'm very proud of it.
You know better than to discriminate against homosexuals.
Yeah, but these guys are really super gay.
Be careful with my baby.
What have we got?
Not sure. Looks like a possible code 56.
Kenny, shut up, Kenny.
You're going to be okay, baby.
Get me 50 cc's of ketamine, stat! And get something for the kid, too.
Is he going to be okay?
Let the doctor do his work, man.
Doctor, did you
This
find
episode, this was another sort of step in setting the stage to bringing Kenny back. So we knew we had to do a show where the first thing we did was get Kenny out of Cartman's body, and so in coming up with that, in try to kicking that idea around, we started talking about the guy John Edwards, who I don't think he's such a big deal now, but he at the time, right at this time, he had this show that a lot of people were watching where he supposedly talked to dead relatives and stuff. And he did just use this method called cold reading that's been around forever, and he is just a giant douche who went out and made tons of money, on preying off of people's sadness,
Right.
and loss. And so this is actually Penn and Teller's favorite episode. They've told me many times that they just totally love this episode because they have their great show on Showtime bullshit, and they were going to do a whole thing on John Edwards too, but then they told us that they thought we had done it too well, and they didn't want to do a John
Is that right?
Edwards show.
Well, they've
Yeah.
done a lot of debunking of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the guy in the 80s who was big, or when we were growing up? There was another guy who was like John Edwards. About every 10 years, one of these guys surfaces who kind of has a different shirt on and a new hairdo, but does the same exact thing, and it's called. He does cold reading, which Stan actually demonstrates in the show, and we got a letter from Penn after this aired, and that was kind of a big kick. But really, it did come about like trying to, well, how can we really rip on John Edwards? He's such a douche. We're like, what about the biggest douche in the universe? He's very kind of
the award.
He's very kind of Hitchhiker's Guide, actually.
Because it's funny because we've said so many times, like, you know, we've ripped on so many people in South Park. We literally did decide this guy is the worst. This is the worst guy in the world. There's nothing right now you could do that's worse than this. And what was really funny was that as we were making the show, almost, I'd say 98% of the staff at different jobs or whatever was like, well, no, you know, that guy actually can do that.
Right, and then the other people are like, no, he can't. But you know what, there are people, well, he can't, but there are people that can do that.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, there's not.
And we were getting into arguments all the time, people with psychic. You know, it's like, no, and it's like, no, because our stance is psychics are all bullshit. And they are. But basically they're like, well, yeah, but there's like the one, this how do you explain this then? And I'm like, you can give me 1,000 instances of how can you explain whatever. And it's like, you know, it's like I can give you 1,000 reasons why it works.
It's the simplest thing. Just duplicate it in a laboratory setting. Just duplicate it. And the other thing is like there was like, well, the psychics do help the FBI. No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't, and they never have. So stop saying it.
And I know that the idea too came from we were saying I really think there is no bigger douche right now in the universe than John Edwards. We're like, well, what about Rob Schneider? And we're like, because, you know, it was right about the time that the Hot Chick movie had come out, and it was just like, watching the preview for that made you want to vomit.
And it was really the previews for Rob Schneider movies.
Yeah, it was the previews.
It was really that
worse.
and the fucking commercials that are just like, dippy derp, look at him go.
Derpy 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 derp.
Super funny.
They all just have that rhythm to it. It doesn't even matter what the plot of the movie. It doesn't matter which. It's just like derp de derp, derp derp. It's like everyone's heard that a million times for some comedy movie.
Rob Schneider's a carjacker.
Rob Schneider, derp de derp, you know, was a man until one day he's about to find out that derp de derp de dilly dilly derp.
The woman he loves is actually a turtle.
Yeah.
So anyway, and there's not just Rob Schneider movies, but it seems like Rob Schneider's done like 4 of those. Yeah. Well, there was the Animal, and then there was the Hot Chick. So it's like, what else is he going to be next week?
It was like a death that made people sad. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Look, Mr. Edward, can you just ask Kenny how we can get him out, please?
Doesn't work that way. Now, Kenny's telling me that you are his
fucking
John
douche.
Edwards will burn in hell. If there is a God, John Edwards will absolutely burn in hell.
And all the people that he claimed to have channeled will fucking jack off on him.
Yep.
For hundreds and hundreds of fucking eternities.
They'll jack flames off onto him. Okay, let's go on to the next show then.
My Harry died last year.
Oh, it's coming from over here. I'm getting all kinds of voices today. Woo!
This episode was another one that was another episode that dealt with sort of drug issues, and it came out at the time when there were all these commercials. I guess it was MTV, right?
I think it was MTV that showed a show about it.
They
It's like Scared Straight. Isn't that what it's called? Or something like that?
Well, but they also
Not
had
Scared
all these
Straight.
commercials. They had all these. I think it was on network too, but they had all these commercials that were basically like, you know, the thing of saying like, you know, marijuana.
that's right.
If you smoke that, you know, pot, you are funding terrorists, you know, and it went
That's
back
right,
to
yeah.
show like
We couldn't even satirize it. We
Yeah.
couldn't even figure out a way to make something as fucking more ridiculous than the commercial itself.
yeah, and it was
If you
saying
smoke pot, you fucking fund terrorists.
and it was saying all this.
So
There were
stupid.
other things like that too. It's like funny, but it was the other big one was an ecstasy commercial,
Right.
where it said ecstasy kills you, and it had a woman saying ecstasy killed my daughter, and the fact of the matter was that she's one of the only people that's ever died of ecstasy, and they don't really think she actually died from the ecstasy. So it's basically like we have the same view that kids should not be taking drugs, but it's wrong to lie to them to get them to not take drugs. And so we wanted
Because
to
what
make
happens
a show.
is you hear all that stuff, and then when you're 15, you do smoke a joint with your friends, and you have a great time, and you don't die. And then what happens is you just think, well, now they're lying about fucking everything,
Right.
including heroin.
It's all
and
lies,
drinking
so
and
I'm not
driving.
going to listen to anything they say. And the
And
truth
then you're
is,
fucking shooting black tar heroin and
truth
sucking
is-
cock in a back alley.
the truth is, ecstasy will not kill you, but ecstasy can fuck up your life. So tell a kid that, because you don't need. As soon as, and so basically, was the whole idea of the show was let's just do a whole show about that where
And how far-
parents go
right.
way too far,
Way too far to teach their kids
to
a
try
lesson.
to teach their kids a lesson. So they actually go to this company that will send will lie to your kid and say that their future self from the future has come back in the past and is totally fucked up because of the drugs they took, and and so it's this big lie to your kids, and it gets to the end point, which I think is a great message, which is that message of you can try to steer your kids the right way. You can try to get them to stay away from drugs by lying to them about it, and like these exaggerating things like these commercials do, and made by people that obviously have never taken ecstasy before, they don't know what they're talking about, is not going to do anything.
Try to teach your kids not to lie by lying to them.
Yeah. Don't take drugs. Don't take drugs.
If you smoke marijuana, you're a terrorist.
You could be
like we sat there for days trying to, because normally at South Park that would be like, we would have that as a South Park joke, but we couldn't really think of how you would go one step further than that. That was so fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So anyway,
you'll either be a terrorist or you'll write Sergeant Pepper's.
Right.
Just one of the two.
But why are you back in this time with us, son?
This was another one of those very last-minute ideas. We always get to the thing in fall runs where we're always doing shows right up until like the second week of December, and we get all this pressure because we're trying to think of the last show to do, literally like the first week of December. We're trying to think of what the last show is going to be, and we always feel kind of pressure to do a Christmas show. But of course, by now we've done, I don't even know, it's 5 or 6, 7 Christmas shows.
5 or 6, I don't know.
And so it's always kind of like, well, we've done it all. We can't think of anything for Christmas.
Well, it's also like we set such a high standard, we thought, for Mr. Hanky.
Like Christmas shows need to be really special and good. But this idea, I remember, came to us on a Thursday, the Wednesday before it aired, on the week before the Wednesday it aired, and it just sort of all sort of fell into place. It was obviously everything in the Iraq was the huge thing of the time, and so the whole idea of Santa trying to spread Christmas in Iraq and getting shot down, and basically doing Black Hawk Down, but with Santa Claus was the general premise, and we were able to even so kind of a little bit turn it into a musical with Poo Choo Train.
That's right.
That's all you really got.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Hanky helps them get to the North Pole.
Yeah, we tried to add every.
We got Mr. Hanky and Santa and Jesus. We got all the Christmas figures in this.
And one of my favorite things too is that we decided that Santa Claus's place, for the first time we were going to design his place at the North Pole, and we decided, of course, it needed to look like Superman's palace. And so, if you look at that drawing of Santa Claus's place, it is just the Superman palace from the Christopher Reeve Superman movies. And we call it even his Fortress of Solitude. That's what it is.
Yeah, the Fortress of Solitude. That's right. Which is great in the Superman movie. I think it's Superman 2 when he goes back up to the Fortress of Solitude.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorite scenes in any movie because he drives north, I guess. And then the road ends, and then he's in a truck hitchhiking, and then it's just Christopher Reeve walking across snow like icebergs and shit in a members-only jacket. He just walks to the North Pole, and he has his regular clothes on, and it takes him, it's like a montage of like 2 minutes, and he drove most of the way.
And this was also, we knew we were going to want to end this season with Kenny coming back. That stage was totally set, and so we had gone through all these things where it was like, okay, this scene, he could come back here, and it was just sort of like, it sort of interfered. The story had a great flow to it, and it kept interfering. And so we finally decided to just do a very Kenny thing and just have him show up at the very end. And basically what he says is, he can't understand it, of course, but Stan says, like, Kenny, where have you been? Because at this time, Kenny's been gone for at least a year from the show. And Kenny says, I was just right over there. And that's basically the last part of the show. And
this has a great line, not Santa's balls. That's a really one of my
don't
favorite
shuck
lines.
Santa's balls. But it was also the great thing because what we did is we brought Kenny back in this episode, but we killed off Jesus. And so Jesus had always been a recurring character in the show, but then we decided this episode is perfect, it's Christmas. He died to save Santa, and then we tried to say at the end that that's why we have Christmas. That's why now at Christmas time we think about Jesus, because Christmas was this great holiday and it almost got ruined, except Jesus helped save Santa's life. So now we think about Jesus on Christmas Day.
It makes perfect
sense. And we were pretty happy when we came up with that one. It was quite a humdinger. But anyway, we want to thank you for listening to our commentaries. We're sorry they're not
maxi commentaries, they're just mini.
But we're really not talkers. We're not great talkers. We're really not great animators either.
Thank you.
But we certainly try. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Cartman is trying to bring Christmas to Iraq. The people of Iraq deserve a good Christmas just like everyone else.